No, I said no!
What is up,
Not a
guys?
good friend!
This is part 4 of the Player's Handbook review. We're going to be talking this time about the background system and
background.
and inspiration. The background system is a pretty unique. It helps you with your role-playing aspects of stuff.
Yeah.
In previous editions, what you did prior to your adventuring life or what led up to that was pretty much up to you. And it sort of is to some extent, but now there's... You alright?
Coffee grounds, we're good.
Now there's a mechanical benefit to that.
Yeah, it's quite.
So, what this is, your background is essentially what your character did prior to them becoming an adventurer.
Mm-hmm.
And one way or another, depended by you, something happened to change them from whatever they were doing to becoming an adventurer, some sort of key event. And the way a background works is there's, I think, like 12 or so to choose from.
So cool.
And every background gives you some set of equipment of some kind.
Yep.
It gives you proficiency in 2 skills.
Yep.
It may give you a language, it may give you tool proficiencies,
May.
and then it also gives you some sort of always-on feature that you have access to.
Yeah.
It could be really beneficial.
It could.
It could be maybe not as useful.
Could not be so.
It could be based on... Some of it can be really dependent on your DM's creativity, your willingness to work together, the two of you, or, you know, it might just be like something pretty simple, like an always-on, I can always find food thing.
Each of them has a rolling table, or various rolling tables, so you can create this randomly, or pick. You get a trait, ideal, bond, and flaw.
2 traits.
You get 2 traits?
Yeah. Personality traits, you pick 2.
I didn't get that far yet.
No, it's just the thing. It's all we always pick 2.
No, I didn't there yet.
It doesn't say in there.
Spoiler alert, Ted.
It's on the page before.
Yeah, I'm not on that page.
I know, so...
Okay, so you get 2 personality traits, an ideal, a bond, and a flaw.
Correct.
Which I find really useful as a DM, being able to motivate characters based on their bonds and their ideals. Because at a certain, depending on who your players are, at a certain point you need more motivation to go on this adventure than we might get gold.
Yes. That's a big issue with this game.
So they're really cool. They can add a lot to your character, they can add a lot to your game.
Or they cannot.
Or they cannot, depending on what you pick.
Depending on how you play it or your dungeon master. It could just be just there for the skill proficiencies.
It is what you make it.
Yes.
It is what you make it. One of the cool things that I wanted to point out is lockpicks and picking locks and stuff like that. It's not a rogue. There's another thing that could do that, right? There's like rogues and sandwiches or something. They could pick locks in old versions. This, you can gain proficiency with thieves' tools based on your background. So you can be any class and be able to pick locks. It's just based on your dexterity and your proficiency with thieves' tools, which I thought was a nice little touch.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in older versions, you needed to have a rogue in your party if you wanted to unlock anything that was locked. Now you just need
criminal or whatever.
Yeah, a criminal or an urchin or one other thing. So they're very cool. We're not going to run through them all, but yeah, check them out. They add a lot to your character building if you let them.
Yeah, it's the traits are sort of. I don't really know of a better way to describe it than it is a
personality trait.
Yeah, it's 2 things about your character that help define who they are. Your ideal is sort of your outlook on life. They're all tied to an alignment of some kind. Your bond is something that ties you to your background. So if you are an acolyte, which is somebody that's sort of, you were involved with like a priesthood or something like that, some sort of deity or clergy, your bond might be something tied to that, and that's a way to keep your character in their adventuring life still tied back to when they were part of the clergy.
Yeah.
And that's a way for potentially the DM to be like, oh, well, you have this, and then maybe that'll bring you back and you want to do that. I know one of the ones is a noble, and if you were a knight, perhaps your bond is you were in some sort of a tournament, and your bond is like a handkerchief that your lady fair gave you. And if that gets stolen, that might really heartbreak your character's like, I need that back.
Yeah.
That's from, Marion. Maid Marion.
She gave me my favor. Yeah.
And then the flaw is that not all adventurers aren't all perfect.
Yeah.
Everybody has some flaw, and that's I mean, you can. There's nothing stopping you from coming up with your own background. There are supplemental backgrounds and other things. There's nothing stopping you from taking one of the traits, bonds, flaws, whatever, and tweaking it more to be more specific to you. These are again just a guideline.
Yep.
And again, you do get the cool the traits that are related to it. In the game that we're playing, I chose Outlander as my background, and mine has come up very often, more often than, or not in the way we play it now.
Yeah.
But it's at any point when I'm traveling through the forest, if there's food and water to be found, I can find it for me and up to 6 other people or 5 other people.
So that's the adventuring party.
Yeah.
So that's kind of never having to worry about food and water.
Yeah, we never have to worry about rations or what kind of food we're going to get. And in the beginning it came up more often, but we kind of got to the point where it's just assumed that I do that.
Yeah.
And like the other part of that is I always remember any terrain I've ever been through. So I say, every time we walk into a new area, I say, hey, have I been here before?
Yeah.
And if he says yes, then I say, then I want to take the most advantageous way to get from point A to point B, because I've been here before.
So they can be really cool. And they even have variant features built right in, like there's Sailor, a variant feature is Pirate.
Right.
You are such a famous pirate, you can walk in anywhere and just drop your name, and people are scared of you, which character in our party uses not to pay for ale ever.
Yes.
Fire brew and walks out.
Yep. So it's cool that they do have some variants built in. And again, I guess the benefit of that is if you have a background that gives you proficiency in a skill or something like that, and you already gain that through your class, the system is built that you don't lose anything.
Yeah.
So if you choose something that gave you if you're proficient in perception as one of your skills, and your background gives you proficiency in perception, you then get to choose a different skill to replace that.
Yep.
Which is potentially a way to game the system to get access to something that you wouldn't normally have access to.
Yep.
I don't think it works for proficiencies with things, because I don't think if you were a rogue and got proficiency in thieves' tools, and a criminal and you got proficiency in thieves' tools, I don't think you get another tool proficiency.
No.
But regardless. So one of the big points of backgrounds is inspiration.
Yeah.
And why don't you talk about what it is?
Inspiration is basically a reroll that your DM gets to hand out. The way we play is we have a little statue of me that I will hand out to reward characters for playing their character. They can use it for themselves or anyone else, and it's at any point when someone rolls something, after you see the roll and before the DM tells you if you passed or failed, you can say, like, you know what, I used my inspiration, re-roll that, and you get to pick the higher one, I
It
guess.
essentially gives you advantage on the roll.
Yep, on anything you want. And it can be given out as many times as the DM wants. There's a variant rule in the DM's guide where the players get to hand it out, but we're not. But yeah, it rewards. It's a system in the game that rewards people for playing their characters, which is something that I haven't seen in other versions.
Yeah, there might have been an experience-based reward, like for role playing. But yeah, this is like, if your character is bonded that, you're a person of the people, and you have an option to just like continue on through the town, but you see there's a bunch of urchins on the street starving for food, and you go out of your way and say, you know what, no, I'm not okay with this. Let me go buy some food for these kids, and try to find them a place. At least I'll get them a room at the inn for the night or whatever.
Yeah.
That's you playing your character, something you didn't have to do. Now I have inspiration. And, it can be a game changer.
It can be the difference between life and death.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing stopping you from using the inspiration on a death saving throw, to be very literal.
Yeah.
Or like, oh crap, you just rolled a 1 on your stealth check. Nope. Go ahead, why don't you re-roll that, and maybe we'll get past this without being caught.
Yeah.
Big thing. Yeah, so
I like
it's a really cool concept. I like that. I like to see other rules for like, not necessarily variant inspiration things, but other cool concepts like that to come up maybe in a supplemental thing in the future.
One thing I will say is, from playing the game, it's useful to have something, like I said, we have a little statue of me, something physical to put in front of you, because it's easy to forget if you're playing a long session that you have inspiration if there isn't that physical reminder in front of you. We have played games, even with the statue in front of you, that like no one uses inspiration, where they just hoard it the whole game, and then afterwards, like, I forgot I had that, even with an adorable statue in front of them. So yeah, a physical token helps.
Yes, for sure. And again, you don't necessarily have to play with that. That's really your DM's call.
It's true.
So yeah, I don't think there's really anything else background related that I would want to talk about. So
it's good.
yeah, have fun choosing your background, and if you come up with any cool, clever ones yourself, let us know.
Yeah.